Direk Podcast Politics of Everyday Life เพราะการเมืองอยู่กับเราทุกที่ทุกเวลา
Hello everyone, my name is Prapimphan Chiengkul and I'm an assistant professor at the Department of International Affairs, and I would like to welcome our listeners to Direk Podcast episode 78. This podcast is brought to you by Direk Research Center at the Faculty of Political Science, Thammasat University. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Misato Matsuoka, and she is an associate professor in the Department of Language Studies at Teikyo University. And her research interests include international relations theory, security studies, Japanese foreign policies, and regionalism in the Asia-Pacific region. Okay, to begin with, Dr. Misato, let me ask you, in your opinion, how has Japan's Indo-Pacific policy evolved in recent years?
Okay, so as for this Japan's Indo-Pacific policy, well, this was the kind of geographical idea that has been articulated by former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. So at the time, it has been introduced quite broadly by emphasizing such values, including the rule of law or economic prosperity and so forth. But my opinion is that it seemed that it has involved not only looking into those kind of broader sense, but it also become a bit a bit proactive in the sense that it also take into account some of this kind of security aspect of it. And some, it seemed that, the expert related to this, region will argue that it is because of the rise of China. So that is what I see the development or the change. And you can also see the examples such as the development of Quad, which is consisted by the countries including the US, Australia, and India, and Japan. So we can see that even though it's this kind of Indo-Pacific framework, but there are this kind of different attitude that we can see from Japanese foreign policy making.
Okay, that is very interesting. Now, for many people, Japan's Indo-Pacific strategy is often seen as a response to China's growing influence. So, how does Japan position itself in the region, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I think so far Japan has tried to position itself kind of maybe a balancing actor in the region, and because it also advocate for the rule-based order. But having said that, sometimes depending of what kind of topic is involved, sometimes it can be seen that this Japan Indo-Pacific strategy can be seen as the way in which how Japan has a closer tie with the US, because it's also quite in line with the US Indo-Pacific strategy too. So we can see there are this kind of pretty much this the kind of, how should I say, this kind of influence of not only by this China's growing influence, but also the way in which how US involved in the regions. So but still, we can see that Japan is trying to kind of act maybe kind of balancing or seeing its position.
Okay, I see. Do you think Japan's Indo-Pacific approach risks creating regional divisions by aligning too closely with US strategies?
Yes, I think especially when we see that Japan's Indo-Pacific approach, which is maybe when it's come to this, for example, the Quad relation, this is something that further develop under Biden and the Japanese Prime Minister Suga. So because few years ago, when not Kishida but Suga was a prime minister, it also mentioned clearly about the strengthening the U.S.-Japan alliance in the context of Indo-Pacific or Quad. And also the more recent years, when we look into Japan's Indo-Pacific policy, it kind of used this kind of the factor of the China's like rising power. So as a result, it can be seen as this kind of the danger of the escalation among by looking into this kind of U.S. and China like tension, I think. And also because Indo-Pacific is really broad, like kind of geographical framework. So it's also this issue about, okay, which countries are part of it. And when it comes to this idea of Indo-Pacific, we consider it's also can be seen as a geographical framework that tend to exclude China. So this also caused some of this kind of like uneasiness by other like countries which consider itself as Indo-Pacific, including like India or like Southeast Asian country, including ASEAN nations. So I think that this Japan's like approach to Indo-Pacific can be likely to kind of create a further difficulty by creating the division, and because it can be seen as a like closely aligned with the U.S. strategy.
I see. So I think our audience in Thailand and Southeast Asia will be interested to hear about Japan's and relations to Southeast Asia and so on. So in your opinion, does Japan face any challenges in engaging with ASEAN nations while promoting its free and open Indo-Pacific vision?
Well, I think that, it depends on what period of the time that Japan and other countries are facing. So like when it's like around like, when during the Abe administration, well, in the sense, Japan may face some of the difficulties to engage with ASEAN in order to understand what is the kind of the interest of the ASEAN nation when it comes to the Indo-Pacific, because ASEAN nation have a different national interests and have a different like purpose or different kind of interests. But for Japan, it has been engaging with ASEAN nations or the Southeast Asian by means of especially this infrastructure like development or trade. So Japan has trying to build a closer or stronger relationship with ASEAN states, but still Japan may still face some of the kind of like challenges, or have been paying a closer attention to understand what each ASEAN nation may see its view. And also this also relates to the kind of like what vision do each state may have. So, and while Japan also tried to make this free and open Indo-Pacific idea to be, try to show it's not really exclusive, but indeed as a result, with closer stronger connection with Quad, it's as a result being seen as kind of closer relationship with the U.S. But on the other hand, for ASEAN, it's maintain its centrality, or like try to be neutral about not taking the side. So I think in this regard, like Japan may have been trying to engage with ASEAN nations by not trying to show itself that it's have this kind of, for example, some of this ideological kind of inclination to a certain point. So far, I think Japan has been trying to maintain its position that Japan's interests in promoting the free and open Indo-Pacific and also strengthening with ASEAN nation is like kind of supporting the infrastructural development or maybe strengthening this kind of economic tie and so forth. But another thing is that nowadays I think this also relates not only to Japan but also to United States. But like depending on what kind of president that United States may have, ASEAN states may act differently depending on that kind of international environment. So like now US will going to have Trump as a new US president. So and Trump attitude toward like ASEAN nations may not be like Trump may not going to take this kind of multilateral like approach, but rather like it will be America first. So like seeing this US attitude, maybe ASEAN member states will try to balance by maybe having a closer tie with China. So in that regard, Japan may face some of this kind of like may going to like take a careful like kind of step in this regard.
See. That is very interesting. But now that we're talking about the whole relations between Japan, China, and US. So I guess an important issue that we should talk about is about Taiwan, right? So Taiwan security has become a focal point in US-Japan cooperation. So what are the potential risks for Japan in taking a stronger stance on the Taiwan issue?
So yes, like there are many issues involving in the Pacific, and Taiwan is not the exception. So, but so far, we have seen that Japan has been showing its support for Taiwan, including some of the statement relating to like Taiwan Strait. Well, this was something that can be seen between this U.S.-Japan alliance when they had the meeting a few years ago. So, but unfortunately, this also raised, both US and Japan raised some concerns regarding this potential like China's aggression, and because they have this kind of, like Taiwan Strait have been seen as one of the hotspots in this region. But then, so nowadays, this US and Japan have they explicitly mention about the China factor can be the potential like kind of issue when it comes to Taiwan Strait. But then having said that, this has been, my opinion is that it has been kind of led to this kind of escalation. But like for Japan, it has been aligned closely with the US when it comes to the Taiwan issue, which can provoke China. And also, when I say about this escalation, it can also potentially lead to this military tensions and some of this involving like area, including like what's like East China Sea or beyond. Well, we can see that even from this Japan changing defense posture, even now like during like Abe administration, but even we have a new Japanese Prime Minister Ishiba, but even before Ishiba, Kishida also like kind of mentioned strongly that okay, Japan will going to like do this kind of defense build up by increasing the budget, and it also mentioned about this kind of not very explicitly, but mentioned this kind of potential risk relating to this region. So, like unfortunately, I may say it have this kind of this potential risk for Japan taking a stronger stance about Taiwan issue. But then this also may also cause this kind of Japan's dilemma, because it also still have this kind of closer tie with China when it comes to this kind of economic like relationship.
See, there is another issue, another hot topic that I would like to hear your opinion on. So the discussions around the concept of an Asian NATO has gained a lot of attention. So what is Japan's role in these conversations, and how might such a framework impact regional stability?
So this concept was quite, yeah, it kind of attracted attention because it was suddenly came out with the words of this new Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, and this was the concept that appeared in this kind of one of the U.S. think tank report. But when this Asian NATO like increase it kind of appeared in the report, it's kind of caused some of this kind of maybe like criticism even like from like some of the ASEAN states because like NATO represent this kind of world of this kind of like it's like this kind of products of the Cold War that seeing this kind of this kind of some of this ideological like tension like between the Soviet Union and this West. So when new Prime Minister Ishiba introduced this concept of Asian NATO, it also kind of implies maybe some of the potential Japan's role and kind of maybe increasing its like the presence regarding this kind of security issues and well there are like various opinion about this Asian NATO because some experts talk about like how different it can be from this existing like Quad system or some of this other like unilateral like frameworks. But I think Ishiba was trying to show this kind of potential like collective security system to be created in Asian NATO. But then but it didn't really attract this kind of really positive responses from the nation. So like it's this has been pretty much kind of pull some of those various responses because there are some of the experts from from US or some European countries that mention this maybe they can be the potential in the future of collective like security framework. But then having said that, well, there are this kind of opposing kind of voices of creating the ASEAN NATO, especially when we think about what country would it included. Well, it seemed to be quite like difficult for some of this Southeast Asian country that want to maintain its neutral like position and so forth. And also while Prime Minister Ishiba like said that it's not really about like encircling China, but still, like it, like most people do see that it can be seen like this kind of the ASEAN Asian NATO can be seen as kind of encircling China. So this will kind of, like there are quite a few of the reactions saying that well, there can be the risk of polarization and so forth. So there have been this kind of pretty much like debates about it, but still, this Asian NATO have been still like under been under like consideration by like under the Ishiba administration because there are some of this working group that kind of have this this discussion about this potential like Asian NATO. So I think in like Prime Minister Ishiba's mind, it has kind of trying to like propose some of this potential of this kind of maybe like, for example, like some of the stable security arrangement and so forth. But again, this can be cause some of this really debatable like kind of responsive from various countries, including those countries in the Pacific.
Okay, that is very interesting. And the discussion about Asian NATO is definitely something that Thai people should follow closely. So if you don't mind, I would like to ask one last questions about yourself. Could you talk a little bit about your publications and what research you're working on right now?
Oh, okay. So now, I've been publishing both in English and Japanese, but my like the current research that I've been working on is this kind of this discourse about the rise of China as a kind of hegemonic discourse. Well, I originally work this kind of, like neo-Gramscian framework of hegemony, but afterward I have been working on this kind of in what way how this hegemonic discourse have shaped the foreign policy making. So nowadays I've been researching about how this China threat discourse have become quite prominent in this Japanese foreign policy making, and this also relates to Japan Indo-Pacific policy. And as for the publication, so this will be in Japanese, but I'm almost finishing completing this the journal article about this like Indo-Pacific, like regionalism relating to this kind of China threat discourse and so forth. And also another research that I've been working on is this is slightly like will be less connected to today's main topic, but I'll be working on about this kind of conservative intellectuals shaping the kind of security discourse, and this will be including the Indo-Pacific discourse too.
That is very interesting. And as you already know, I'm very interested in the definition, neo-Gramscian concept. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Misato Matsuoka, for speaking with us today.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much too.
Yeah, and to our audience, if you find our podcast to be interesting or useful, please share them with your friends, family, and colleagues, or please click the subscribe button so that you don't miss a new episode. And goodbye for now.